Okay, welcome, everyone. Dai-shihan here from Warrior Concepts. Welcome to another episode of Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Of course, it's a Wednesday as I'm doing this live. It may not be a Wednesday when you're watching. Anyway, I apologize for some of you folks. I just became aware that as we're broadcasting this live, some of the platforms have a little bit of a lag in catching up, and some of the students have told me that like it'll start right in the middle of me speaking or whatever. So for those of you who watch me standing there for a couple of seconds, minutes, whatever, that's the reason, right? I'm just kind of letting things catch up, and then hopefully my guys catch that during post-production and kind of trim things a little bit. And if not, well, these classes are set up to be very much like a class. Like if you came into the dojo and I just start teaching, right? No big old intro at the beginning, no fanfare, nothing like that. We just start. Okay. So anyway, again, welcome to this week's episode of Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Today's topic is one of, again, in my opinion, right, one of the most overlooked, but also one of the most important concepts in all of Japanese martial arts. I can't speak for Chinese or Korean. I haven't done Korean martial arts in decades. Chinese martial arts, I think I did one or two. I did one form of Kung Fu when I was in junior high school, and I started one when I was stationed in South Korea in 1981. So anyway, I can't speak to those that much, but again, this is a really, really critical topic in, again, Japanese martial arts and in real-world self-defense. Now, I have noticed that there are certain experts out there and whatnot that do these things. There's a lot of things that I talk about that I group into the higher level warrior realm or in the realm of ninjutsu and whatnot. But I've seen other people do them, right? Timing, distancing, angling, those critical core pieces. But, you know, Paulie Zink, who's a master of drunken monkey kung fu, doesn't look anything like what we do. However, same thing. Paul Vunat from Jeet Kune Do, there's a bunch of guys. And again, some of these guys may be retired, but maybe I should be too. Coming up on 63 this year, and that just means that I have a whole lot of years of experience behind me. But anyway, so most people, when they train, what I've noticed is that they default to whatever style fits their personality. I was just talking to a class earlier in the week about how our personality types can be read by people who know what they're looking for, because we'll gravitate towards certain occupations or college degrees or trades or whatever, and martial arts based on preferences and perspectives and what makes us feel comfortable and those kind of things, not necessarily about, like, we think we're solving a problem, and it's not that we're not, but we're carving a little sliver out and then accepting or assuming, right? Because the brain's an assumptive processor, not an objective observational processor, right? Contrary to popular belief. We're assuming that that'll take care of whatever pops up, okay? But we don't really understand the problem all that well, okay? So again, people choose things based on their personality, right? So some people, we call them fire personalities, right? They always want to attack first, right? They want to get in there, put the pressure on, and just go, okay? Others always wait and counter, right? We call that a water or wind approach to things. And some just try to push through with brute strength, right? They're either wrestling or holding their ground, grabbing and just slamming on things. We call that earth defense. So for those of you who have been around for a while, a lot of what I'm going to be covering today may sound like some of these Godai elements, right? These primordial elements that will often pop up in Asian approaches to things. Most of my students learned these things based on this earth, water, fire, wind, void kind of thing, but we're going to come at it from a different perspective, right? This other classical model, okay? So for people who say the Godai doesn't exist, if we stripped away the names, earth, water, fire, wind, void, that throws people off, and we talked about this, they would see the exact same thing with the same definitions, but a different word. And if it's the word that throws them off, well, everything else gets more difficult from there. So, anyway, all right. So, but here's the thing, right? And a lot of you know this. A lot of you have street experience, right? In the street, on the street, you don't get to decide which one you use, right? The situation dictates it. Actually, let me roll that back because that's what I've come to understand. I guess you do, right? You do get to pick and choose, but that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it necessarily the most effective, efficient use of energy, resources. You may get slammed around a whole bunch more, that kind of stuff, right? But for most people, as long as they win, then it's okay. I think that a lot of folks should feel lucky that they didn't end up in a situation where their preferred method didn't work out for them. Okay, so again, on the street, right? Everybody's an adult, right? You can do whatever you want, but here's my contention. If you only know how to respond one way, right? It's kind of like that old adage about if the only tool you have is a hammer, then every problem has to be a nail. It's going to be treated like a nail. It's the only tool you have, right? And that's what ends up happening, right? So, but if you only know how to respond one way, or worse, if you only train one way, right, then you're leaving yourself wide open to problems and scenarios that can't be solved that way, okay? Because some attackers can't be baited in, right? So they're not going to make that initial move for the defenders who wait for the attack and then they do a responsive kind of thing, like Aikido or Judo or whatever, right? It's not going to work. If he won't initiate, he's waiting for you, right? Or he's waiting for a mutual engagement, then now what, right? So again, waiting doesn't work on that, right? You may be up against someone who you can't let get the first shot in. This person is faster, they're stronger, whatever, right? They have a size advantage, okay? If they get that first shot in, it's over, right? We can't let that happen. And so if they do get that shot in, we're toast, okay? Some people are just by nature, right? They're bigger than us, they're stronger than us, they're more wiry than us, whatever, okay? So what we say is that they already own that realm, right? They already own that dynamic, right? Strength, size, whatever it is, right? So you're not going to be able to fight with strength or reach or whatever your normal default mode is because their reach is already longer. They're already faster. Right. So it is what it is, right? Which is why we develop and hone different strategies. Okay. So not just techniques. This is not about techniques. Okay. This is about strategy, right? So we're in the intermediate to advanced levels of progress here, right? So we learn different strategies so we can match the particular situation that we find ourselves in and not just hope for the best. Okay. Does that mean we're always going to win? No, of course not. Nothing's guaranteed. Okay. But in Japanese martial arts, there is a concept called Sen. Where's my marker? We'll use red for contrast today, right? So there's this concept called Sen. Okay. This is not the Sen as in like things that imply lines or linear things or whatever. Sen here means to initiate or to take the initiative. Okay. But this isn't necessarily going first. Right? This is a huge misconception by a lot of folks, right? You get the first shot in, right? Strike first, strike hard, Cobra Kai. Okay. You might, but there's a certain timing element that goes along with this. There's also a connection. There's also a presence. We'll get into some of these as we go along. If you caught this week's Kuden episode, I came at this from a couple of different perspectives, but the whole thing was on taking the initiative, right? Moving, but not just moving, but knowing when to move based on the problem, the attacker, the situation. Okay, so it means initiative. Sen means initiative. But what it's really pointing to is when you take action relative to your opponent's action, okay, or relative to your opponent's attack. Okay, so again, it's not about being faster or stronger or even going first. Okay, it's not about that. It's about timing, right? It's about initiative in a relationship. Right? So I'm going to give you three primary forms. We'll talk about two others that are actually like farther down the line, or that kind of act as bridges between a couple of these things, because things aren't always as easy as they look, right? Or as smooth. Okay. So again, what we're looking at today, strategic initiative in self-defense, and the point here is knowing when to make your move. Okay. Intentionally, or you've been forced to do something because of the situation, the attacker, whatever it is. And so the more of these that we can know, and the more of these that we can, instead of just kind of randomly choosing or randomly guessing, again, this requires presence of mind, the ability with the body to move when we need to move, in the direction we need to move. Hatsumi Sensei's always called it just freedom of movement, right? The ability to move. But that doesn't mean making up shit and doing whatever you want. Okay? It means fitting the situation, being right and appropriate for the given conditions, right? At least here in the West, since childhood, right? We were taught things from the perspective of right versus wrong. So if we see something as like right action or right timing or whatever, see, the left brain wants to grab a hold of that like there's an official thing. But it's not about that. It's about a whole bunch, being able to recognize a whole bunch of conditions and recognize what's best or appropriate for that given situation, instead of, again, being a hammer, right? Okay. So again, initiative and strategic initiative in self-defense, knowing when to make your move. Okay. So we're going to look at why most people misunderstand this. Okay. And why training within this realm increases not just your survivability, right, but also the options you have when things go sideways, the options you have up front before things even get started, okay, the options you may have midstream, okay, because again, those of you who have actually been in the mix know this to be true. In the chaos of a real attack, it's not the strongest person who wins. It's the one who chooses the right initiative at the right time. Right? They just happen to move at the right time. I'm going to do a quick thing here and check the chat just to see if anybody's kind of signed in. I saw a little blue thing pop up. All right. Victor's on. Good afternoon. Jimmy's on. Konnichiwa. Okay, good. All right, awesome. Okay, I don't have a producer for these, so I have to kind of randomly check in. I don't do it a whole lot, but I don't know. The little blue thing popped up, so I should probably check. Anyway, all right. So let's do this. I'm going to start for the beginner. So if you know these things, treat it like a review. Okay, I may say something that's new and just kind of pops out for you. I'm going to come at this from the perspective of I'm talking to someone who has never been exposed to this before, and this is the first time. Okay, so there are several different types of sen. Okay, sen again is to take the initiative, but the question here from a timing perspective is when. Okay, when, right? So we'll take a look at three primary ones, and then I decided last minute I was going to throw two additional ones in here, so we'll see what happens, right? So the first one is called Gono Sen. Okay? You can put these in whatever order you want, but you'll see as we get here closer, or as we go into this, why I put these in an order based on time relative to his attack. Okay, relative to his actual physical attack in my direction. Okay, so Gono Sen, a real quick definition here is Gono Sen means late initiative. okay, or delayed initiative. So Gono-sen, the way I was taught it is we initiate our movement, right, our moment to go upon his attack. So his attack is on his way, and we move to evade, block, counter, whatever. Okay. So I'm going to put a little word up here that some people may or may not like. It's okay. As my mom used to always say, you don't always, nobody ever said you had to like it. Okay. Gono-sen, from a timing perspective, we are late. Okay. Not like your girlfriend or wife being late. That's different. Okay. Anyway, right. So Gono-sen, we're late, right? His attack, it's already on its way, and we have no choice. We have to deal with it. Okay. So Gono-sen is initiating our movement upon his attack. Okay. We're late, right? We could be so late where we've been hit one time, two times, three times, whatever, right? We could be hit because we got blindsided, and our brain has to catch up into the reality that, well, shit, I'm in a fight. He's already been there, right? And then we're kind of picking up our regularly scheduled programming already in progress, like the rest of us old timers remember back when there were only 3 channels and nothing on. Okay, now there's 57 or 157 channels and nothing on. Okay, anyway, Gono-sen, right? Next one is Sen no Sen. I don't know if Victor already did his class, his sword class or whatever, and he covered the Sens. I saw a post that you were doing that, right? So Victor's probably either like verbalizing it as I go through this, or he's thinking ahead or whatever, right? So Sen no Sen literally points to initiative on his initiative, right? So Sen no Sen is initiating my movement, my physical movement, upon his intent to attack, his intent to move. Okay, this is going to be important here. I'm going to have to make a distinction here because this can be a little bit confusing for some folks. Okay, so this is late, right? This is preemptive. This is, and I'm going to call this one on time, right? On time. What we have to understand about Sen no Sen is that we're moving at the moment he thinks about attacking. Because I'll go into this much more deeply here in a minute, but I'm moving. What triggers me to go is his intent to go, right? This is, again, it's not about going first. It's not about going faster, right? Because if I go, everybody knows what happens if I go too late, right? I eat some of my teeth. But if I go too soon and he's not in attack mode, he's in fight mode, but he's not in launch the attack mode. When I throw my thing, he'll respond to it. He'll block it, counter it, whatever. Okay. The timing for this is such that when he has the thought to go, that thought, right? There's a saying that one of my teachers gave me that thinking about attacking is attacking. Okay. People like to think that, if I don't say it or do it, it doesn't count. Yeah, it does. Okay. And the reason for that is as soon as he thinks go, right? That thought puts a whole bunch of muscles into action so he can go, right? But there's this chain. I know it happens really, really fast, but there's a cascading effect. It's like dominoes, okay? So if I can pick up on this, what ends up happening is I can intercept him before things really get on its way, okay? So it looks like I'm beating him to the punch, but it's not about going faster than him, okay? My trigger is something different than waiting for his fist to move. We'll talk about that one in one of the additional ones. Okay. So Gono-sen is late. Sen no Sen is on time, but not on time with the physical movement. Right. The reason I beat him to the punch is I'm in tune and I'm connected to this person. So when he mentally, emotionally decides to go, bang, he's getting hit. Okay. Because he's in launch mode, he can't. That's your litmus test, right? That's your litmus test in training. If you get this right, he can't respond, block, escape, whatever. It's a trap, right? If you get it too late, well, then you're eating your teeth. If you get it too early, he'll respond, block, whatever. You'll get half a shot, whatever. Okay? Even if it's just his flinch response that gets it. Okay? If we get this on time, his flinch response won't even save it. Okay? It's cool shit. Right? So, and then the last of the three primary is called Sen Sen no Sen. I know, what the hell's with all the Sens? Sen Sen no Sen. Okay? This is what we're looking at here is backing up, right? Because there's the Sen, right? So think about Sen is initiate, right? So he's initiating, right? So I'm going to go when he initiates, when he launches the attack. Sen no Sen looks to outsiders like I'm going at the same time, right? So I'm initiating, but the Sen is different. This is the physical body moving, the physical body initiating. This is the mind heart deciding, go now. That's when he's getting tagged. Sen Sen no Sen, right? This is when he decides that he's going to fight. Okay? So he's committed to fighting. And I'm not going when he launches something. I'm not going when he intends to launch something. I'm going when he's in preparation mode to launch something, or before he even knows he should be in preparation mode. Okay? So just keeps backing up. Okay? So this, in fact, I'm going to put a different word right here. This is preemptive, but preemptive to the launch. This is also preemptive, but this is pre-initiative. Okay? He hasn't committed to launching anything yet. He's just committed to fight. Okay? I know how this can start to split words because English doesn't describe this stuff very well. Okay? Where this is preemptive to the attack itself, the physical launch, this is pre-initiative. Pre-initiative. Don't like that. Anyway, but brown is the tip's too fat. Right? So what we have is late. We have what looks like on time, but we're actually preempting his actual physical movement because we're being triggered by something else. Okay? And here we're pre-initiative. Okay? So if you were in on Monday's Kuden, I described something like this. If you missed it, no big deal. Okay? Here he throws something and I have to navigate that thing. Okay? Here, right? He's getting in there and he's getting set, and the moment he gives himself the go signal, he gets hit. Okay? Because I'm catching him between thought, intent, and the body catching up to that to carry out the execution of the technique or the punch or the kick or whatever it is, right? This one, I think the analogy that I gave on Monday for Kuden was you show up at the battlefield. He could be there already. He could be showing up at the same time, right? But when he's getting everybody lined up and all that, you quickly scan the battlefield and then you go, right? So now he has to he's forced into this position where he has to try to get things together, but you have the initiative. You're already full-blown attacking while he's, right? So we'll talk about more of these as we go along, right? But here's a common confusion. I even know one senior master teacher, soke, whatever you want to call him, from a major organization that most of us know, right, that puts these two together. Okay? There's a huge misunderstanding. I'm not saying that I know more than him, not by a long shot. Okay? However, this happens a lot because people can't differentiate between these two. And so what ends up happening is they get lumped together. They get blurred. Okay? And so it's not the same, right? I'm gonna jump to that quickly, and then we're gonna come back and take a look at two more. Okay, so again, even advanced people, right, blur this Sen no Sen and the Sen Sen no Sen together as just flat out just go first. Okay, and to be honest, I confused it for a long time. Okay, and then there was a period where I was really trying to reconcile it, and I just what I would tell people is it's really difficult to kind of get into words and whatnot. It is. However, because I didn't understand it, well, that makes it even harder to explain. Okay. But I want you to think of this way: Sen Sen no Sen. This one, okay, is acting on his decision to fight. Okay, he's already talking smack and moving it, right? He's made this decision to fight, but he might not be in range yet. Weapons might not be up yet. Whatever. Okay, he's made the decision to fight, but he hasn't made the decision to throw something yet. Do you understand the difference? Okay, this is an important distinction. Okay, because when we start talking about, and I will at the end, when we start talking about how to do this in everyday life, like with arguments with people or whatever, how do you set that up? Okay, if you understand this stuff on the battlefield and you understand it from a principle concept perspective, then you can use this all kinds of things. You can use it against the pushy salesman. You could again use it against the friend who wants to argue and attack you with something, whatever. Okay, so Sen Sen no Sen is I act on his decision to fight. So he is in fight mode, but he's not in attack mode. Please understand the difference. Okay, Sen no Sen, I act on his intent to move at his launch point. Right, it's at a different point in time. That's why I'm covering time. Right, our Friday masterclass on the strategic initiative. I approach the whole focus will be on time and turning this general term of timing into tactical dominance, right? Not a rhythm. This is not timing rhythm. This is not timing flow. This is when we initiate movement, okay? And there's two parts to this, okay? There's two parts to this. I covered this during class, and I'll probably cover it again on Friday. There's two parts to getting Sen no Sen, well, all of these right. Okay. One is I have to detect the danger. I have to detect the triggering moment, right? I have to properly assess that, and I have to be able to move without winding up. Like from right here, right? If I still have residual wind up to go, I'm this guy, okay? Or I'm this guy. Instead of just straight out, okay? If I cannot move in the direction I need to move, when the triggering event occurs, I'm going to be late. Okay? I'm going to miss my opportunity. I'm going to send a tell. Okay? So there's two parts to this. Being able to detect, this is why, we'll see in a minute, this is why we give this to people first, because the triggering event is this big-ass missile coming at you. And so if you miss that, well, then you were asleep and you're going to take a longer nap. Okay? But for these two, right, I have to be able to assess things very quickly, and it's more of an intuitive sense of the right moment and then go. It's not guessing. Intuitive sense is not guessing. Okay? Guessing is a left brain, analytical, okay, I guess I'm going to go. Okay? The intuitive sense, often we have no idea what's driving us. We just get that sense that it's time to go, and we learn to trust that. Okay? You're going to need that as part of the two halves, right? Physical and the intuitive sense to pass the fifth dan test. Unless, not knocking anybody, everybody gets a certain rank, right? But unless you're like some of the folks that I've seen that have luckily passed the test. You just happen to move at the right time. Okay? There was no acute zanshin ability that could detect unseen dangerous intent, murderous intent, which is what saki means. Okay? Not sake, saki, S-A-K-K-I, saki, murderous intent, right? Force of the killer. Okay, all right. So as a way to kind of remember this, Sen Sen no Sen, okay, disrupt his will to fight. Sen no Sen, disrupt his ability to fight. Okay, so we're going to disrupt his will to fight, Sen Sen no Sen. Disrupt his ability to fight, Sen no Sen. Okay? Anyway, let's back up here just a little bit, right? Let's take a look at two more types of Sen. Okay? One, we're going to call, not going to call, this is just common in the Jutaijutsu, Jiu-Jitsu, Judo realms and whatnot, right? Tai no Sen. Okay? Tai no Sen. Right? Tai no Sen is it's going at the same time physically, right? He's physically attacking, and you attack the attack, okay, with your own technique, right? So again, Friday's class, we're going to do techniques from the curriculum that match these, okay, so people get an idea of what these things look like. But Tai no Sen is a bridge. Tai no Sen is a bridge between Go no Sen and Sen no Sen. It can often look like Sen no Sen, but it's not, okay? Sen no Sen is triggered by his intent to attack. Tai no Sen is still triggered by his attack itself, the physical attack. Tai no Sen is you beat him to the punch. Okay? He physically starts moving and you move. Okay? Or instead of backing way out to do uke nagashi and coming way back in, right? From right where we are, we just scoop that arm and we're in and we go. Okay? So you don't even move your feet, right? You just intercept it before it becomes strong enough or stable enough where you're going to run into resistance, okay? So again, a little time that fits in here, okay? Go no Sen generally has you on the run and then you got to work your way back. Tai no Sen, still based on his physical attack, you just intercept it. It's kind of like here comes that big old missile and we fire one of our own. Okay? Our missile just got to it faster than it got to us. If his missile was faster, well, he'd done better. Okay? Let's see. And then the last one I'm going to cover today is called Hen no Sen. Okay? Hen no Sen. Often you don't find this. Okay? I got this through Kuden. Hen no Sen. Okay? Hen, right, means adaptive, just like Henka. Adaptive. Okay? Tai, Tai is, right? Body. Okay? So the bodies initiate at the same time. Boom. Okay? So adaptive initiation. What this means is it means adaptive initiative, and what it means is that we change midstream. Okay? So for those of you in the Bujinkan and you know the Kyonapo, Jumonji no Kata, as a fundamental kind of thing, can be seen as a Hen no Sen. It starts out as Go no Sen, okay? But then, right, he's already initiated. It's a Go no Sen, Sen no Sen, Tai no Sen kind of hybrid because I'm not way out here and then coming back in, right? I catch it, boom, and then it's actually his next one that I'm going to beat, right? So is it Sen no Sen? Is it Hen no Sen? Right? But what we're doing is it's an adaptive initiation, okay? So on the front end, the attack is coming, right? And I have to deal with that. But as soon as I clip that arm and I get a response and he's trying to recover, boom, I take the initiative and tag that next point, and then I back out and look at him like, if you keep screwing around, it's the nicest thing you're going to feel all day. Okay? So there's lots of ways to do these. Jumonji no Kamae makes a really good dissuasive tactic. Okay? Dissuasive tactic. Right? So again, your three primary forms that everybody tends to work on, and I'll show you how it shows up in our curriculum here in a minute. But Go no Sen is responsive timing. Okay? He's physically doing something. I got to deal with that. Sen no Sen is preemptive timing, right? I'm initiating on his intent to go. I pick up on his go signal, boom, and I hit him. And usually what will happen is because I initiated my physical movement sooner, he gets tagged and jammed up, right? And then I can just keep moving in and drilling things in there, right? Sen Sen no Sen is Sen Sen no Sen. Have you ever seen these jack wagons that decide they want to fight, right? They decide they want to fight, but then they take their jacket off or want to take their T-shirt off, expecting that you're going to wait politely for them to finish so you can fairly start the it's bad enough for him if mid-jacket I go bang. Fight's already started, dude. You started this. You already initiated. You're going to take a moment to make yourself more comfortable. Take a nap with your jacket half on and half off, okay? But I'm going to thank Jesus and everything else that I can thank if this jackass decides he's going to take his T-shirt off and blind himself for a second, right? That's Sen Sen, no Sen, okay? That's, right? You gave me a huge opening. Thank you very much. I appreciate you being an accomplice to your own ass kicking. Okay? And this really does come down to that, right? Your job is not to win or lose a fight. Okay? This is not about fighting. This is about self-defense and survivability. Okay? Your job is not to win. Your job is to not be an accomplice to your own ass kicking. Your job is to make him an accomplice to his. That's Sen Sen, no Sen. He should have been paying attention. He should have had everybody prepared before he showed up at the crest of the damn hill where you could see him and the battlefield, but he didn't. Right? This is one of the things Musashi was known for, right? He'd say, all right, I'll meet you at 2:00 on a certain battlefield or whatever, wherever they were going to have their little duel, and he'd show up at noon and already friggin' know where the sun is, where the sun's going to be, how he's going to position, all those kind of things. Okay? So, interesting. That's something flashing here. I don't know if you guys are popping things in or what, but let's see. Oh, Chris is on, right? Is there an exercise for picking up on someone's intent? Yes. I'll talk about some of those toward the end. And Friday's class, which you'll catch on a recording, we'll do a couple of those. But we've done a bunch of these things in the past. But here's a big thing, and I think I covered this during Kuden. I know I covered it with my Inner Circle coaching group last night when we were talking about Sen Sen, no Sen. Right? Practicing this all the time in everyday life. Okay? Last night we focused strictly on Sen Sen, no Sen and how it's related to certain Shin mindsets, right? Minds in our Seishin Teki Kyoyo, right? In the personal clarity, spiritual development, that kind of training, right? So, were any work on Mushin, Fudoshin, Heijoshin? There's another Shin in there. Anyway, any work in that area, any work in the Seishin Teki Kyoyo, those 11 paths or whatever that I have in the book. Okay, so yeah, because there's a point where left brain can help. Left brain is going to see things coming. Left brain is going to analyze whatever and find the right time. This is not left brain. Shit happens too fast. Okay, but even this has an intuitive sense to it. Even this has an intuitive sense to it because I need to move into open space so I don't trip over shit and whatnot, or move to a tactically beneficial position so I can reclaim ground that I just surrendered to not get hit faster, to take the initiative, to take the that would be hen no sen, right? To switch things around. Okay. All right. So that should do it for framing it for beginners, right? So let's take a look at how it shows up in our curriculum. Right? So if you're not in our curriculum, that's okay. Just kind of give you kind of an idea of how I approach this stuff based on not just timing of when we go, but the amount of time a student has in training and how much they're going to know. Not how many techniques, but certain abilities, right? And level of awareness and things like that, right? Okay. And it's not that they can't take the initiative. It's not that they can't flip these things around or whatever and just do something or do something they've always done. Okay. but they're here to learn a certain art, a certain approach to things and whatnot. So there is ninjutsu, there is budo, and there's fighting. Right? You win because you just freaking went ape shit and you just beat the shit out of the guy or whatever. Okay? Don't confuse 3 steps outside of the cave with enlightened approach or application of principles and concepts to control the scenario. Did you win? Yeah. Did you do it using ninjutsu or nimpo taijutsu or budo taijutsu? Probably not. Maybe, but probably not. Okay. Anyway, so let's look at this in kind of a module progression, but I'm just going to go through modules 1 through 3. We have 5 modules leading from white belt to first degree black belt, and then things get more and more refined from there based on scenarios, strategies from the different lineages, those kind of things. Right. So in modules 1 and 2, right, we are right. So module 1 is foundations. Module 2, the whole focus is on responsiveness, which makes it what? Gono Sen. Okay. So modules 1 and 2 is Gono Sen. Okay. Why? Because the new student's going to be late anyway. They don't know what to look for, right? They're busy collecting techniques. They're busy trying to master the basics. They're trying to figure out where their foot goes, that kind of stuff, right? They're going to be late. Okay. A lot of people are going to be anxious or fearful. If I move in, if I get too close, that's no, right? I've had lots of students over time, even all the way to black belt. They're like, nah, I don't like moving in. Right? I like moving out. Okay. Well, I understand how that makes you feel, but is that strategically a best option given the situation? What if you're boxed in and can't back up? What if you can't increase the space? See, now I'm forced into a scenario where 1, 2, 3, because that's not an option. Right? If I move late on any one of these in a boxed in area, I'm getting overwhelmed and the shit beat out of me. Okay? So we could look at this from 2 sides, right side, left side. Dragon's realm, tiger's realm. The ideal and the do the best you can with what you have. Okay? So the ideal is I use these intentionally. Okay? I don't have enough time for that today to split these. Use these intentionally. Okay? But from the left side of things, the tiger, the raw, rough kind of scenario, right? Sen no Sen could be an instinctive, intuitive flinch response. And I happened to intercept him because something made me flinch. But it wasn't because he was going, he might have been. But if he does that, well, but I'm not splitting hairs. Okay. So that could have been shit. And that jammed up his ability. And I realized, holy shit, I can run. Or holy shit, I can get the next one in. Okay. That one's tough. Okay. Because from an accidental perspective, I might bring something up. I'll give you an example when we get the life choices and whatnot. But this is born of not just knowledge, but experience. Okay, not just about you, not just about battles, but the particular attacker that you're up against. Reading his fight style through his stance and his posture, right? All kinds of things. Okay, all right. So modules 1 and 2, right? So again, students are late anyway, right? So we focus on Gono Sen, okay? We focus on evasion. We focus on surviving late, okay? Punch is already coming. The kick is already coming. The stab is already coming, okay? But where the science comes in, especially in Mod 2, okay? Mod 1, right? Get out of the way and keep getting out of the way or take up a superior position so it's harder for him to get at you. And if there's something that looks like you can tag, well, then just tag it, okay? At Mod 2, we've been doing it longer, so we're still late, we're still responsive, but I'm going to exploit weaknesses or exploit targets and whatnot that he's giving me. Okay, I'm going to exploit openings. Right, but I'm going to be looking for very specific ones that end things. Okay, so the lesson here is that being late doesn't equal being dead. Okay, there's a strategy to it. Okay, and the more we can understand things, not from the technique standpoint, because techniques fall apart as soon as shit goes sideways. Okay, even the military says no plan survives first contact with the enemy. Okay, so this is technique independent, right? This has nothing to do with your techniques, but it has everything to do with the techniques and the way you apply the techniques in a given scenario. I know for a lot of folks, they're not ready for this. It's okay. Go through it, take the recording, put it on the shelf, bring it back out when you're later or when you're ready later. Okay. So let's take a look at mod 3, right? So if we were to go through the Godai, those 5 elements I was talking about earlier, mod 1 is our earth kind of thing, right? We're introducing people to water, fire, wind, that kind of thing, but they're still trying to figure things out. So everything is just more mechanical, right? And they'll power through things, use a lot of strength, whatnot. Okay. Module 2 is our basic water realm. Responsiveness, long range defensive angling, stretch him out, break his strength, break his speed, that kind of stuff by using tactical positioning and range to stretch him out. Right. So that's it. Mod 3 is fire. Okay. So where 1 is foundation, 1's responsive, mod 3 is preemptive, right? Fire. To most people, and to me for a long time, fire meant go fast. Right. But preemptive means go sooner. Okay, doesn't mean first. It's not that it doesn't look that way. Again, this is kind of splitting hairs. Okay, but preemptive is jamming him up and intercepting his intent to go. Okay, so this could be, and we talk about both of these. It's primarily Sen no Sen in mod 3, but we do talk a bit about Sen no Sen. Okay, so where are we over here? We're in Sen no Sen with a little bit of Sen Sen. Sen Sen. Oh, Sen. Glad it runs out at Sen Sen no Sen and not Sen 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 no Sen. Or Sen 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 no Sen Sen. Say that 3 times fast. That. Anyway, all right. And then let's see. What do we have here? So in mod 3, okay, students refine control. They cut wasted motion. They cut out that wind up preparatory shit. Because if I'm still preparing or if I have this wind up thing, he can get me first. Right? And they start intercepting and getting more in touch and connected with that intent to move. Okay? They're not staring at the fist, waiting for the fist to move. They're kind of connecting with their partner so that they get a sense of when their partner is going to go, and they test things, right? Because they need to understand when it's a left brain paranoia, I got to go kind of thing, and an actual intuitive, your body knows when to go. Okay, so I described this on Monday during Kuden, and we definitely went into this a lot for those of you who were on for the coaching call last night. This plugging in analogy is like a cord for an appliance, right? Nothing happens. The appliance has a cord, it has a plug, has all the mechanisms, motors, and all that kind of stuff to work. But until it gets plugged in to a power source, to an energy source, nothing happens. Same thing for us. Okay? We bring the plug and the cord, he brings the juice. I need to plug in. Okay? It's kind of like, there's people that we work with on a regular basis. Hey Bob. Hey, Jeff. Okay? Not a lot of connection. The connection is external. We work for the same company. We might be on the same work detail. Okay? But my friend, Jim, and me, right? Have a beer after work, always telling jokes to each other, talking about life things and whatnot. There's a connection, right? There's a transfer of energy, okay? And the biggest thing here that people need to understand, one of the biggest lessons is that a fight or an attack situation is a relationship, just like any other relationship. It's just a negative one, right? And so we can treat it like one, that they're the other half of the equation, then I can pick up on things. Just like walking into a room with a friend or significant other, and they're having a bad day, and they're in that gloom and doom kind of thing, or they're depressed or whatever, and I can feel it. I'm not like looking at them. Well, their eyes look like they might be depressed. Their shoulders are slow. No, no, no. I walk in and I can feel it. Dude, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. When you're done lying to me, if you need an ear, I'll listen. Right? Oh, nobody cares anyway. Okay, well, now I definitely know you're fucking depressed. But how about if you not bring me down with you? What's going on? How can I help? Okay. So, again, there's still some Gono Sen at this level. Okay. If we look at Jumonji no Kata again from the same kind of perspective, right? The initial attack is coming, and I'm addressing that. And then I preempt that next one by tagging him, not that if this guy's this kind of guy, right? I've got time to deal with things very, very quickly. Okay, so Gono-sen is still there, but it's used to create the moment for a Sen-no-sen or for a Tai-no-sen. Okay, and then again, just kind of a pre-frame you to move on farther down the line. This builds the presence and timing needed for the Saki test to pass the Godon test. Okay. Does that mean that you have to know this stuff or whatever? No, but this stuff, that intuitive sense, some people just naturally have it, and so it's easier for them. Other people need to work on it, and it's my take that if we can work on both sides, the taijutsu part where I need to move now, and the intuitive sense, and I hone it just like any other technique, just like any other weapon, then it's not going to happen accidentally. I can use it more intentionally. And that's what this is all about anyway, right? Living life more intentionally in all realms and less accidentally. Okay? All right. So in later modules, that's where we've got Tai no Sen, Hen no Sen, Sen Sen no Sen, that kind of stuff, right? Where we are in Sen Sen no Sen, we're disrupting commitment before motion. Hen no Sen, we're shifting initiative when the situation changes, right? We can change with it. And Tai no Sen, we know where, because some people just, they don't project intent. Some people are fucking sociopaths, right? And they don't have to be assassins, right? There's just nothing, right? They just go through the motions, okay? It's just cold. Nothing gets projected, right? And that's where Tai no Sen has to come in, because if I try to connect with somebody and there's just nothing there, it's just a freaking vacuum, right? Then I can't use Sen no Sen, but I can still use Tai no Sen. I just have to be on that, as though somebody said, and this is something we cover in Mod 3 as well, I'm on that line, on that runner's line, right? In my lane, already in the ready, set kind of thing, and an ant could fart next to me and I'm going to take off. Okay. Could be the whistle, could be the cap gun, could be this guy next to me cleared his throat, boom, and I'm going to take off. Okay. We see it in American football a lot where there's an offsides kind of thing where quarterback's calling things, set, whatever, and then boom, somebody will go because they picked up on something. Of course, they get penalized for it, but there was just that moment. They just had this intuitive sense to go. Okay, right. So these are advanced because they require confidence, they require connection, they require perception. Okay, they require fudoshin. Right, we can't have fear, hesitation, those kind of things getting in the way. So fudoshin is all about emotional regulation. Okay, they require heijoshin, this everyday mind, where we're just used to fucking chaos. We're just used to that level of things to where we can still operate. It's like every day, right? So he tosses or throws a punch at me. They could just be tossing a towel at me at the pool. Okay? I get so used to having stuff. That's one of the side effects of training. Right? Um, Perception, machine, right? I'm not in the way. I'm not thinking about my technique and what I'm going to do when I should be paying attention to him. Right? I'm in here instead of out there. Okay? Very different. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at some common errors that students have. I've alluded to some of these things already, but okay, these are strategic errors that people make. Right. I'm just going to give you 4 of them today, very, very quickly. Okay. Um, First one I talked about at the very beginning. Right. They choose Sen. Right. They choose when they're going to move. They're either all in. Right. Some of these people, right? They always have to initiate. They always have to go first. Okay. Um, okay. Great. Be careful, because if you're that person, we can bait you in. Okay. One of the uses of Gono-sen is to get somebody so worked up, right? Say some things, make some facial or body gestures and whatnot, and get him so freaking hot, and then let him drift into that space where he's going to go. Okay. But again, I'm connected. Right. And then what I do is I shift to Ichimonji, and that causes him to punch, but he was almost ready, but not quite. And he was just waiting for that perfect moment. Like, if he moves, I'm going to kill him. So I just move back, and that sucks him in, and then I kill him. Okay. So be careful, always having to be the person to go first. You're easily baited. Okay. Next strategic error is they model sport fighters. Right? They model sport fighters. Okay. You've seen the comments on my videos and stuff like that. Dude, this is a bunch of bullshit. All you need to do is just put some gloves on, get in the ring. Everybody knows how to fight. Just do that and get better. One, I'm not going to fight like everybody else, because he's already seen the stuff. He's already good at it, and he already has counters for it. Well, that's fucking stupid, and that's so not ninja-like. It's not even funny. And at my age, this almost 63-year-old is not fighting a 20-year-old the same way. It's not how a ninja would do it anyway. Okay? So, but when they're in this position here, right, we have to remember that sport fighters know when the fight starts. There's a whole bunch of hubbub coming up to it. There's the bumping of gloves or the bow in and whatnot. And then there's the ref, the fight, or the bell, ding, ding. So they know the start. They can't start before they get penalized, disqualified, whatever, right? There's rules of the game, right? They know what's allowed, what's not allowed, those kind of things, okay? So, like, if somebody stays on the run, they'll get disqualified or penalized in a sport fight because people came to watch a goddamn fight. Get in there. Okay? So I can't show up early and put a landmine underneath his corner of the freaking thing. So ding ding, we go to our corners and we're gonna come out fighting. I go to my corner and do the Bugs Bunny and blow him up on the other side kind of thing. That'd be a cool Sen Sen, but I can't do that, right? So rings are battlefields within a freaking narrowly defined paradigm. I'm not saying those people aren't tough, okay? But that's a different world, okay? And so these people tend to stay in the just Sen mode. They throw things, he throws things, right? And we try not to get hit, and then we try to hit him, and that kind of thing. It's a contest, right? They stay here. Okay. The third one is assuming calm dojo state. Okay. I call that dojo syndrome, right? So everybody does soft training, everybody does slow things. Nobody works with the adrenal response, even if they're triggering it just a little bit, or they just all out go to sparring, and then it ends up being like this. Okay. But in this one, right, it's they think they're going to be in this calm. They're assuming, right, they're going to be in this calm. Well, that's why Hatsumi Sensei moves around. Yeah, well, you're not Hatsumi Sensei, at least not yet, right? So they assume this calm master instead of assuming that they're going to have to deal with a chaotic emotional terrain that is in constant flux. Theirs, his, other people's, right? Whatever, right? I'll talk about this in a minute, but there's certain conditions, external conditions that can make that stuff change. And the last one is confusing preference with preparedness. Right? Preference is not preparation. Okay? It's limiting ourselves to one response mode, one method of attacking. Okay? There is one of Murphy's many laws of combat, right? One of which is remembering that your gear was made by the lowest bidder. Okay? But another one is if the enemy is in range, so are you. That's the conventional belief, right? Okay? And what that means is I'm going to assume that he's going to fight just like me because that's the way everybody fights. Okay? But preparation is knowing what his weapon systems are, because Murphy's law is not true in all cases, especially for a ninja, because that law of if he's in range, so am I, is not true when my weapon system is different than his. If my weapon system has a longer range than his does, then I can start firing from way far away or farther away. Or if the way I think about things, my tactics, my strategies and whatnot, right? Just like Sen Sen no Sen, Sen Sen no Sen, right? I could attack his mind before I attack his body, causing him to stall, right? And then that gives me the opening to go. Okay, we'll take a look at some of that stuff on Friday. All right, so conditions that dictate choice. Okay, get through this. I'm good. Still good on time, but conditions that dictate choice. Okay, we'll do 4 of these as well. All right, so one is environment. Okay, one is environment. Okay, cops typically, speaking as an ex-cop, can't do go no sen. But they could end up in go no sen because I'm dealing with a witness over here and some jackwagon comes over here and sucker punches me or tries to attack and go for my gun. Now I'm behind and I got to scramble to reestablish equilibrium and stuff like that. But typically, cops can't give up ground to come back in. Okay, they have to hold the ground. Okay, so tai no sen, all that kind of stuff. It's very, very different, right? So, as far as an environmental example, think about a crowded bar versus an open field. Okay, moving late in a crowded bar is going to look like the boxer in the ring, as opposed to this smooth kind of action, which is why we work on just kind of shifting a certain way so that we can work in the box that's around us and we don't get caught in this kind of stuff. But sometimes you do. And then if we do get caught this way, learning to not do it the same way everybody else does, because if I'm over here, there's another punch coming this way, or if I move this way and I come back right up, he's going to be coming into that because he knows that trick, right? But if I bob this way and pull my hips under me, my spine is straight again and I can move. Because when I do this, my kama is broken. I understand. People do it all the time. But you can't move. You can't move very far. Right? You break your kama by doing that. I know you caused him to miss, so you're close enough to get a shot. But that's... Anyway. So instead of... Right, moving this way, right? If I might, if there was a punch in here, this thing happens, right? Instead of pulling my head back up into the fight, which puts it closer to him again, from here I pull my hata back. See? So he put me here, my flinch response put me here, and then my hata puts my spine under it and gives me motion again, gives me the ability to move. Okay? Instead of going from broken and trying to fix myself from broken. The reason this works is because everything is going this way, right? So everybody tries to fix it this way, right? Let him fix it that way. You fix it by putting your hips back up under your head and shoulders, because this part, muscles are fighting gravity to not fall over. Okay, so fix gravity. Don't fight gravity. Fix gravity by realigning the other half. Okay, it's just very different. Okay, open field. You can move. You got more space and all that. Okay, another conditioning condition dictating the choice is your opponent. Okay? We've already talked about this a little bit, right? If he is just a cold, calculating, left brain, surgical precision, sociopath, that kind of thing, right? You can't connect on Sen Sen, but there's a close second, right? Tai Sen. It's still this, but it's got that I'm preempting, but I can't preempt based on intent. I have to preempt based on when he starts to go. I intercept his physical technique. This one is I adapt to his physical technique. This one is I move in. It's kind of like a submarine tactic, right? Submarine captains know that, like, you fire off a torpedo. The torpedo is set to arm itself at a certain distance between me and the enemy sub or the enemy ship. Okay, so what will often happen is they'll detect, because our technology is what it is today, they'll detect that the other one is arming a torpedo and they already get it in the water. And so what this captain will do is turn his sub into that incoming torpedo to ram it, right? Because if he can make contact with it before it arms itself, nothing happens. Okay, so again, there's certain conditions and whatnot, right? Again, this is the difference between understanding strategy and tactics and just knowing a bunch of moves. Right? All right. Next one is surprise factor. Okay. So surprise factor, right? If I get blindsided, I'm already in Gono Sen. I'm already late. I'm already behind things, right? I've got to get my head in the game. I got to get my heart in the game. I got to get my body moving. So if the next one doesn't hit as hard or misses or whatever, before I can even start gaining ground again. Okay. So again, sometimes you just get that shot in. Okay. And we're going to have to operate from there. Okay. So it's just the reality of the world. Okay. And then another conditioning factor, which a lot of people overlook, is our own personal state. Right? Are there others? Yeah, of course. We could break environment down into ground surface, obstacles, condition of the ground surface, the footwear that I'm wearing and the ground surface. Same thing with his clothing considerations, all kinds of stuff. Right? I got a time constraint here, right? So personal state. So what's my emotional state in the moment? How does this person make me feel? How does the condition make me feel? What happened just before that fight and I turned around, or that attack, and I turn around and I'm still in depression, sadness, happy, woo, I just got an award, whatever, and next, right? So that causes lag time. It causes all kinds of shit, right? But I could be injured. I could be ill. I could be tired or exhausted, right? All these things can limit options, right? Ill, tired, injured, all those kind of things can actually disconnect and inhibit my ability to think clearly and things like that. So I may be forced into one of these than the other one. But my condition could be like I just came out of, I don't know, playing with my kids or my dogs or whatever, and like I'm like all hyped up, and there's just more vitality, vibrancy going on and whatnot. And so he comes in and like I'm still in game mode. I'm still in like hot hands mode where I can just boom. Okay. So cool. Another game just looks different. Okay. That's going to make a difference as well. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at a couple of training ideas, answer Chris's question early on, because a lot of people want to jump straight to detecting his intent. But if the machine that does the testing or the examination or the detection, right, isn't working well, or isn't working properly, not detecting shit. He could be projecting intent that somebody over there is just it's just boring a hole in them, and they're like, oh my god, holy shit, right? This guy's like, how can you miss when he's on? But if our processor's off, we could be walking into freaking door frames that have been there the entire time we've lived in that house. Whatever, right? So just a couple of things here. One is visualization exercises. Visualization. Right? Yeah, visualization. Okay, we can use this to practice go no sen. Okay, I give this to people very early on, especially my solo students that don't have any training partners or they have intermittent training partners. So they visualize the attacker throwing the punch or throwing the kick or coming in with the stab or the sword cut or whatever, and they visualize themselves moving on time, right, to stretch this person out, that kind of thing. Okay, that's go no sen. Okay, they can practice a flinch response. Okay, so they imagine this person in front of them. Who knows? Person's calling them, their mom, their dog, all kinds of names and whatnot. Their hands in their pocket. They got that smug, cocky look on their face. And let's say they realize that that you are a little pissed off, right? And they're going to take their hands out of their pockets to go, I was just kidding, right? And as soon as that moves or that you sense that change, you can practice, you can just visualize that flinch. Like, how would that happen? How would that, in what direction? Okay. It's still preemptive, right? He didn't get more than like his hands got jammed in his pockets. Okay. So all this doesn't happen. Okay. Something changes and we just go. So you can visualize that kind of thing. Okay. Same thing with the opponent posturing, peacocking, that kind of thing, right? Visualize this guy, right? He's talking smack and all that, and he starts taking his jacket off, right? And you just visualize yourself, bang, just moving right in there to tag him. Takes that T-shirt off, right? Same thing, punch him right through the T-shirt, okay? So there's that, right? There's emotional prep. My intermediate advanced people don't do this nearly enough in class, okay? Where they're still doing step-by-step physical technique because they still have to think it through, which means their rank is one thing, but their physical ability, overall, mind, body connection kind of thing, not what it's supposed to be. Okay? So I get it. They pass tests on skill proficiency, but things aren't progressing. They're not developing. Okay? So emotional prep, what we could do is start surprised. Okay? You can fake it, right? Partner, comes up, lifts his hands up and stuff. And okay, what does surprise feel like? Not, oh, that's not what it looks like. Certain things stiffen up. My thighs just stiffened up. My shoulders came up. My head moved back, right, away from that thing that's coming. The hands start guarding the life-sustaining systems. They could come up even higher, whatever. Okay, and then I'm gonna have to relax through that, right? We could practice starting angry, right? Pulls those fists up, motherfucker, and then he launches that attack, and we have to practice from there, or scared, or whatever, right? Before, right, we're gonna do those before we practice whatever the initiative is. That's different. No, it's my job. Okay, and then next one is scenario variation. This is a big black belt level kind of thing where I've had students out on the floor and I build a wall around them with our striking targets and mats and all that kind of stuff and chairs and things. And then as they're practicing, I keep moving things in closer and closer and tighter, not just so that the walls are closing in, but so they're up against other people and all that kind of stuff, right? Things keep changing, okay? So I can turn the lights off, right? Right in the middle of practice. Just flip the switch, click, lighting change just like that, okay? I could be set up, ready to go. I just did this to somebody the other day, right? Be all set up and stuff, and then I just kind of look over their shoulder. And they went from like waiting for my punch to looking behind them. I could have just punched them. Right? So noise level can change. I can add multiple attackers. I can, as soon as they're taking their partner down, I can tag another student and go get them. Right? To make sure they're not dropping their guard, because as soon as they turn around, they could have been in Sen Sen. They could have been they could have had absolute control of everything, and they turn around and now they're surprised, and now they know what it feels like to be forced into a go no Sen situation. The more comfortable we can be moving in and out of these on purpose and moving in and out of these not on purpose, right? The more adaptive and the more advantage we're going to have when shit goes sideways. Okay? So I know I filled up the board, but let's take a look at one more thing, right? Beyond combat. To me, it's still combat. It's just not physical, right? Life application, okay? So in arguments, okay, a Gono-sen strategy would be to pause and then respond. So they start yelling or, you're this, you're that, you always, I just listen. And then at a certain point, I go, okay, my turn. And then, or I just wait it out. And then when they go, what do you have to say for yourself? And then I respond with something that either addresses all of their points or makes them not want to talk to me for a long time. Okay. Because winning is winning, right? Intercepting midstream. Okay, so they start, right? They're actually coming in, and they always start the same thing, the same way or whatever, and they go, and I go, enough, I don't have time for your shit, right? Just take that shit somewhere else, not now. You want to be pissed at me? Now you got something to be pissed at me about. Okay? Or how about if I just pre-frame the discussion? Okay, I know this is a sensitive topic for us. It keeps coming up. I would like to get this off the table. I would like to address this. We may not like it. We may end up at the end of this just agreeing to disagree, but let's do that. And then I initiate from my perspective. Okay? I've already assessed the battlefield. We've already had the same fucking argument, or the same kind of issues keep coming up. Then it gets, and now there's this weird ass tension and stuff like that. So I'm going to pre-frame it. I'm going to initiate, right? But I'm going to pre-frame because I know the battlefield. I know what their sensitivities are. So I'm going to address them and address possible outcomes that are favorable for both of us. And now I'm going to initiate. And now it's their choice. You can have this conversation with me, okay? Or are you going to run and hide? Or are you not comfortable with somebody else initiating? You always have to go first, whatever, okay? So for life challenges, okay? This is a big one in my alter ego, right? I do workplace violence consulting. Most of you know that. So crisis management mirrors the Sens, okay? Gono-sen is everybody has a workplace violence plan. Zero tolerance, banned weapons on site lists, all that kind of stuff, right? But that's it, okay? And then everybody has to fend for themselves because there's no reactivity until the unthinkable happens and somebody actually acted out. But we had them sign a non-aggression agreement. Yeah, well, he was calm and sane in that moment, and now he's angry and irrational. Or you forgot to factor in the person that wants to harm you and doesn't give a shit about your zero tolerance policy, loves the fact that you have zero or banned weapons on site list because nobody's fucking armed and I can walk through the place doing what I want. And the punishment phase you're going to have afterwards, I'm going to pop myself before that happens, or the cops are going to kill me, or I've got an exit plan that you can't, right? So either way, the damage is done. Sen Sen no Sen, right, is having that, but now we've got a layer of training where people are looking for things that stand out, people that are in our area that not supposed to be, the badge is wrong, whatever, right? So we have a detection system in place, okay, where we can preempt and know what's going on, okay. And this extends even farther, but Sen Sen no Sen, okay, Tai no Sen is in here, right? So these people picked up on it, and some people are going in that direction, but there's an early response team that moves into place when there's a security team that's evacuating people, whether they're managers or whatever. But the early response team, they move in and create a wall and box a person in, or there's just different tactics to use until the cops or whatever show up. Okay, Sen Sen no Sen is keeping an eye on the news and our ear to the ground and recognizing that hothead that you just fired last week, right? He could come back. He could be planning shit. Not that I'm being paranoid, but what's he doing? Most managers don't even give it a second thought. Don't even give them a second thought. They're out of my life. I don't care. Yeah. And then shows up in a workplace and shoots the place up or whatever, right? But is there a trend in places being attacked? Hospitals, whatever. That happens all the time. Nurses are 25 times more likely to be attacked on the job than a cop. Okay. Guess where the training sucks? Well, depends on the size of the force. Training for our local cops here sucks. But training in healthcare, absolutely fucking abysmal, right? So, but it's knowing the lay of the land. So, right, before they even do things, we can shift things and change it and become a hard target so that they can't come in. Okay? There's just an easier target somewhere else, right? And so it's just a huge, huge thing, right? Okay. And then other life challenges like reaction versus timely adjustment versus preemptive preparation. Okay. The fact that we train is preemptive preparation. Okay. But are we exercising good zanshin on a regular basis, right? That's that consistent awareness on a daily basis so that we can see danger formulating or approaching or whatever from farther away, right? So that we can act sooner, or as soon as we leave the dojo, do we just forget all this shit and then we're in reaction mode just like everybody who doesn't train? I don't know. I don't know your context. Okay. My wife knows what it is for me because she's constantly pointing out when I'm in Kapai mode. Okay? So anyway, so that's what we have. Okay. Just as a quick reminder, we've got the Strategic Initiative Friday Masterclass coming up. The page is all set. It's $9 for a 75 to 90-minute class where we're going to be going through some techniques, maybe even a couple of drills to have students work on these different types of Sen. Go no Sen, Sen no Sen, Sen Sen no Sen. Tai no Sen, if I can slip it in there. We'll see how many of these 5. Definitely the first 3, but we'll see how many of these 5 we can get into a hour and 15, hour and a half class, right? Like I said, it's $9. Even if you can't make it, you'll get the recording, you get the training that way. It's the cheapest you're ever going to train with me other than showing up for these high-level freebies, okay? That's it. That's what I have. So I will check the comments later and whatnot. I'll answer any questions anybody has. Anybody that's interested in taking things farther, don't forget you can always reach out, right? You can send an email at warriorc@warrior-concepts-online.com, okay? And put in the subject field call request. And we can set up a one-on-one complimentary coaching call between you and me and discuss your training, sticking points, those kind of things, and see where you are. And at the end of that, you will walk away with a plan, a couple of next steps to move forward, whether it's getting started or whatever, right? I'm not going to talk about any programs or anything like that unless you want to. Other than that, this is a all about you kind of thing, okay? But please do not, right? I'll vet you before we do it, right? With the emails back and forth, okay? You must be available for a call. at the time that we set. And I understand life happens, but if you're a no-show on the call and we reschedule it and you're a no-show again, good luck trying to set up a meeting with me after that. Okay. My time is valuable. Your time is valuable. I won't disrespect you. You won't disrespect me. All right. That's what we have. So if you're ready to move on, reach out, see if I can help you. If not, no harm, no foul. Hopefully I'll see you on Friday. If I don't, I'll see you next week, right? On our next episode of Warriors Whiteboard Wednesday. Be safe, train hard.